Okay, this is the video for our new way that we are going to be doing things. And Angry Birds in any kind of that Candy Crush, any of that kind of stuff is a really great way to think about it. It is very similar, actually. So the official term is standard-based learning or standard-based grading. And it pretty much is just letting you guys in on that secret that teachers have of there are certain standards we have to touch on and we keep track of how well you're doing on them. But it would be great if you knew how well you were doing on them too. So that's why I'm doing this. And a great way to think about it is when you play Angry Birds, some of you haven't, but you get a score and it helps you get stars. And so if Angry Birds didn't use standard-based grading or standard-based learning, it would pretty much say you do the level and you get 1 out of the 3 stars. Sorry, you're not allowed to improve. You would just be stuck. However, when you play Angry Birds, you can play that level as many times as you need to get the 3 stars. And so that's standard-based grading, is that you are able to do things to improve until you get those 3s and 4s, and you're not stuck at 1s and 2s. Okay? And that you clearly see what you know and what you don't know. So in this picture, I would know that I didn't know that second level very well, but I had the third one down. And so in that Mastery Learning Gradebook, it will look just like, well, not just like, but very similar to this. So it answers those questions of like, what does it mean to get an 80% on a chapter test? Do you really know by looking at just that grade in your gradebook what you understood? Does it mean you understood 80% of the material? What about that 20%? You just never learn it? And I don't want that for you. So standard-based grading lets you track your own learning. It shows your improvement and not just what you don't know. And it really focuses on learning and not just doing it and getting points. And so we've been talking about those different levels a little bit in class. And this is a great way to think about it if you're still kind of confused. Level 1, you have the materials, you kind of know what to do, but like you know you need flour, but you don't really know what to do after that to make a cupcake. Level 2, you have the materials and you just need help from somebody, a teacher, another student, to get started. Level 3 in baking your cupcakes is you know how to do it, you bake them, they're pretty good. Number 4, level 4, is that you know how to bake cupcakes already, and so you tried something different. You were able to take it to a new level. You could teach someone how to make cupcakes, and they could do it. What I want you to do is go to Canvas and open up your grade book. All right. And you're going to want to click that Learning Mastery tab. I'm going to have to do this a little bit weird because I can't show people's names and I can't get the student version to work. But click on that Learning Mastery tab and then meet me there. All right, when you click on the Learning Mastery tab, it pops up this. And if you hit that arrow, it shows all of the standards that we are working on. And down at the bottom has the Revolutionary War project, which is the only thing you have graded. And if you hit that, it has 1 alignment. And some of you have more because I've graded your warm-ups. Some of them I'm still working on. But it shows you how close to mastery you were. So 4 is the maximum set, but 3.5 is mastery. It means you just made a little bit of a mistake. If you have lower than that, that means that you didn't master that skill yet. But the key word there is yet. You can do things this quarter to increase that. And so this person, if I had to put it in the grade book, which I will have to do at that progress report time, I would put in that they probably had an A- because they have a 3.5 out of 4. And that would roughly equate to that. So if they had a 2, I would probably put in that they had a C. A 1 would be a D. Okay, so if you're putting effort in to at least attempt something, even if you do not understand it at all, you're going to get at least a 1. So you're going to at least have a D. Where that F comes in is when you just don't even try. 4s and 5s are going to be in those 8, and 3.5s are in that 8 range, if that's what you're shooting for. B's would be 3s. So that's how the grades are going to look. In assignments, it's just going to be a check mark. So we and they do not keep it very well organized, but you notice 3AD stuff, that is from this semester, and it's just going to be check marks. It's going to look at those 0 points because we're not really doing points, but trust me, it is worth your grade. But everything is going to have this little, when it's graded, have a little blue square over here. And if you click on that, it pops up the rubric. And I'm going to use the same rubric for everything. It's that poster hanging next to the map, but just in the rubric form. So a 4, you prove that you definitely understood this skill. And so this person, 3.5 on their project. If I go to their warm-up in the grade book, I would go and grade it. So, and then I would put, 1 through 4. The most recent score does not show up. It is the highest score that shows up in that learning mastery gradebook as the overall skill score, and then it will list all of the ones below it. Okay. All right, so now we need to look at your pre-test results. So that's going to be that Linkit sheet that I passed out that looks like this. Again, I have to cover up stuff, so just look for this. This one's kind of a bad picture, but we look and see 2C Confederacy, they got a 0, and 2C Federal, they got a 67. So using that guide, we would see that they got a 1 on 2C Confederacy, but they got a 3 on 2C Federal. Okay, so it might be easy for you to write the numbers over here because you're going to need to graph stuff later. But here is those pre-test results. So fill that out first, and then we can move on. All right, so now that you've done that, we need to graph your data. And you are going to need this sheet for that. Down here, those standards that were listed where I read off 2C Confederacy, go here. You'll notice there is a pre and a sum for 6 times. That is because 2 columns get the same standard written in them. This is your first, your pre-test, and then your last test, your summative assessment. So the first thing you need to do is, I would turn it sideways to write this, but you're going to copy down those standards. So in this one, it would be 2C, and we can't just leave 2C because we have 3 2Cs, because that's how the standards are. We have to break them down even more. 2C Confederacy. Okay, and you need to write it all out. I can't fit it all. And then we'd write 2C Confederacy again because that's our summative column. If you are still confused by this, on the front board is an example. Okay, once we have all of those written all the way down, then you're going to look at your labels that you made for, was my mastery of that standard a 1, a 2, a 3, etc. And so on that example we saw, that person had 2C Confederacy, had 0%. So that's a 1. So they would color in the 1 square because we're making a bar graph. You will color the whole thing in neater than I am. And then right above it our labels have to be nice and neat, 0%. And remember, they're 2C federal, which would be, we would skip this row because that's a summative assessment. So now we're in our pre-assessment, and we would label it 2C federal. And they got a 67, and so that was a 3. So of course, that's not it. So then they would have to label it all the way up there, but it won't work. But so they would have it colored up, and then of course they're going to label up above it. They would color that all in, and they would label it 67%. So you need to do that for yours. It doesn't matter which standard goes where, just as long as you have all of them and they have the pre and the sum right next to each other. When you are done with that, then we are going to move on to the I can statement. All right, now that you have it graphed, you move on to this I can statements chart, and the I can statements break down those standards even more. You're going to record your scores for your pretest. So explain the role of the central government in a confederacy. We know, we can get a clue that that is that 2C confederacy because these are the official standards. So in that pretest, if we keep going with our example, they had a 0%. So they would write a 1 in the pretest score. In the federal government, they had a 67, so they would write a 3 in the pretest score column. They don't put anything in the post-test score because they haven't taken it yet. So when they take that test, they will fill that in. All right, and then now we're going to go to the Chapter 7 assessment goals sheet. So we're going to fill in what standards did I do well on. Pick 1 or 2. What standards did I struggle the most with? Pick your lowest 2. In the example, they had a 0, 8, 17. I would probably pick the 0 and the 8 before the 17. Okay? Yeah, they're all 1s, but there's varying levels, which is why I gave you the percents. Then you're going to take your overall pre-assessment score. That I highlighted for you. So they would put 25%. You, of course, are going to write in the lines. Post-assessment score goal. This is whatever goal you want to make. It needs to be, of course, more than what you had. And my goal for everyone is 3s and 4s, hopefully. But you need to assess your own learning. You're not going to get graded if you make it or don't make it. But let's say this person, their goal is a 3 next time. And then when we take that post-assessment, they're going to fill in these last 2. When you're all done with that, you need to glue them or tape them on these pages, and then you'll be done. All right, let's try this. I've never done it before, but I know you guys are going to do great.